Hello and welcome to another edition of Lifting Lowdown, the regular industry podcast brought to you by Lift and Hoist International. My name is Guy Harris and I'm the publisher of LHI, the magazine servicing the global industrial lifting sector. Regular listeners will know that this podcast does not take the format of a straightforward interview, but invites industry representatives and figureheads to openly discuss leading topics in a relaxed and friendly manner. On the eve of another Global Lifting Awareness Day, or GLAD for short, I am joined by co-host Richard Howes of Bridger Howes, a PR and consultancy firm prevalent in the lifting and materials handling sectors, and by Dr. Ross Moloney, CEO of LEA. Welcome back to Lifting Lowdown, chaps. Wonderful to have you here. Hi, Ross. How you doing?
Really good. Thank you. Really good.
Fantastic. And Rich, you okay?
Yes, excellent. Yeah, it's good to be here on the cusp of another or the second GLAD. So looking forward to that and chewing through some of the plans for the day and previewing it for people. So
absolutely. Yeah. And my opener is, where did that year go?
Yeah. I guess there's something to be said for, time flies when you're having fun and all that. And I think it's not exclusively been fun in this industry, has it? But it's certainly been frenetic. People have been rolling with punches. Of course they have, but an awful lot of people are extremely busy and they've been well challenged. And I think we'll get into it, but I think it only enhances the appeal of our industry, quite frankly, and I think actually the timing of this in many ways couldn't be better, despite the fact that we're launching this out of our first and second Global Lifting Awareness Days are going to be against the backdrop of a pandemic, aren't they? But
yep.
I actually think we're going to gain something from that.
Well, I think it says a lot about the resilience of our industry, and I've said it before, probably many times, in fact, but I'll stand by it. Our industry has been on the front line supporting governments, people, infrastructure, aid efforts, etc. And the fact that we're all still here, we're all going good guns, speaking to lots of people, and people seem to be as busy as ever, if not even busier. Again, it just shows the resilience of our industry, really, and what a great way to celebrate it, with a Global Awareness Day. So, Ross, are you looking forward to it, or is that the wrong phrase?
No,
because it's a lot of work.
Really looking forward to it. As I'm sitting here thinking, I think this is probably the first time I've been in my office on a phone call with you guys, and so at least for me, that is, some evidence that even sort of the officey, the administrative side of the world's coming back. And yeah, gosh, it's taken a long time to get here, but now it feels like we're in sort of fast forward almost.
I certainly hope so.
And I know we've had the pause in the UK about we're not quite there yet, but and I had a day at the cricket booked for next Thursday that
oh dear
cancelled, but it feels like we're getting towards something.
Well, if you want to, you can always come down and see my local team, or go and see Rich play.
I wouldn't recommend it. I'm playing my last season for about my 10th season in a row. I've been doing one more year for about 10 years. And still dropping catches, and but you can't. There's something so English and summer about the game, and it's got an odd appeal. But we digress, don't we?
We do. My local team had a rare win at the weekend, so I wouldn't recommend coming to watch my local club, to be honest. So. Ross, are you happy with the way GLAD has been embraced, if indeed it has, by the wider
community? I think if you remember this time last year, the three of us were thinking,
almost to the day, I may add.
Yeah, well, we were thinking it felt like a really good idea when we were talking about it, But is it right to be talking about being glad of anything when you're in the midst of a global pandemic? But here we are, having sort of been nervous about that launch. And this year it's about building on what I thought was a great first year of something brand new. There are clearly more partners that are involved. We at LEA, we're sort of holding most of our content back until the 8th.
Yeah.
But we've got loads of content that we're going to be launching on the 8th, both in terms of the member content that's coming to us that we'll be sharing, but also in terms of the specific stuff that we've been developing here at HQ. So I feel it's easy to feel relaxed when you're not looking on it, but no, I'm relaxed and looking forward to it.
Well, I think LEA have excelled themselves this year, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm looking at the program now, and I'm going to ask you to go through some of it in a short while. But I mean, what you're presenting here to the audience on the 8th of July is fantastic. It really is. Why don't you tell us about some of it?
Maybe we should reserve judgment on that until the 9th. But if I just run through what's happening from LEA. So
yeah,
clearly this is a global thing. And I had a conversation this morning with a member, and I said, of course, we're encouraging all members, we're encouraging everybody in the industry to share something. LEA as the trade association, this isn't an advertising space for my members. So I'm saying to members, if it's industry first, but you second, then we're happy to share it on our channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we're trying to do is to promote the industry here. And we're not blind to the fact that, you know, our members will put logos on stuff. We're certainly not saying that's not permitted, but we're trying to be as sort of pure-handed as possible. So for 12 hours, LEA's going to be running a Zoom call with a capacity of 1,000 people. And it's not the idea that people are going to sit on a LEA call for 12 hours. We would be disappointed if any of the industry had that much time on their hands. So instead, we are going to be running stuff from 7 a.m. UK time to 7 p.m. UK time. And it's basically, for that day, we're going to be, I was trying to think of the right sort of television channel that we are. We're probably BBC 4 got cancelled, isn't it? But so we're just putting on a series of events, and it's on Zoom. It's not a closed community, so we'll be sharing the link and hoping that we'll have as few people that are just coming along and bombing it as we possibly can. But it will be available for anybody in the world that's got an interest in this crazy thing called lifting. So some of the things that we are doing that we think are particularly important are, and I'll run through these, but I won't take too long. Look bored if I'm
don't worry.
So we at LEA have organized a brand new bit of learning, which is self-directed learning aimed at end users. Okay, so we in the industry know how important we are, and one of the challenges we have is, but how do we go and convince end users they need to know the things that they need to be doing? Sorry, that's something that's come through. So we've got this end user guidance. So we've developed this. It's going to go on our website for free. The guys recorded it when they've been delivering the training. We're going to be launching that. So we really hope that a lot of people who are working in the industry will come along and have a look at it and see what they think. We run a focus group with 33 members in 8 countries to make sure that it actually speaks to the global end user. Great feedback, a couple of changes. But this is free training that's going to be on the front of the LEA website.
Absolutely.
For it, this is the sort of thing that we just hope everybody in the world looks at and goes, "Wow, I should have known that," or "Really, I'm responsible for that. I did not know that." So that's something it's free and it's going to be repeated twice in the day. We've also instituted a brand new course of learning, which is called the Introduction to Lifting Equipment, and that's deliberately aimed at people who aren't sure what sort of career they want. So they want the basics. They want to be familiar with some of the terminology, some of the issues. But also, if you are recruiting and somebody's got no insight or no experience into the industry, you just, again, put them on this self-directed bit of learning that's part of your induction. And straight away, you've got a member of staff, a member of the team that knows what they're talking about. We're not relying on sort of intellectual osmosis for that to happen. It's people have been telling Leah that was a gap. There you go. It's free, and so that'll be on our website as well. And then so that's 2 bits of free training that we hope that people will just tune into for themselves, or they'll get their colleagues in on and be like, oh yeah, that is appropriate to share with others.
Yeah. So you'll be making the link available on LinkedIn, on your website.
Yeah, so the Zoom link will be everywhere from tomorrow. So
okay, great.
So it'll be I forget what the date is today. It will be available on the 25th of June. So it'll be there'll be a one-click Zoom, and then there'll be a passcode, and meeting ID, so anybody can join it. Of course, if you want to come along and watch telly whilst you're on the Zoom call, we will mute you. And if you want to come and throw sort of metaphorical rocks, we'll just kick you off. So, but in saying that, there will be a part of the day which is turned over to the sort of, and I would imagine members particularly will be interested in this, where myself and the chair will be having a live question and answer. And so if you want to come and pose difficult questions, there will be a set part of that. But likewise, we hope that actually there'll be people that come along and say, what about this? What are you doing about this issue? And we'll either be able to say what we're doing, or we will be able to say nothing at the moment, but we will do. So we're using this as a day of information sharing, but also sort of data gathering.
Yeah.
And it's got to be that sort of approach. Otherwise, it will just be boring, really.
Well, look, I think that's a great approach. I think it's, a great celebration. It is also sort of an educational approach too. So hopefully people will get engaged and be reminded why they are engaged in the first place. And that's because we're here to celebrate the global lifting industry. Rich, your clients are getting involved, getting pretty busy too, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose where I sit on this is I kind of see myself as playing a little bit of a captaincy role, if you like, in terms of some of the live engagement. I suppose that's kind of where I see myself sitting. And so, yeah, we've been trying to, I know that, my business partner, Mark, a regular guest on this pod, he's kind of been working with you guys on a lot of the content that's been pre-prepared, and I know we're going to be rolling out some stuff that's been packaged up. But yeah, I'm going to be trying to work with people on the live engagement side of it, and I think the best awareness days are the ones that strike that balance. There's probably not a perfect equation of 70% live, 30%, it doesn't work quite like that, but I think the best ones are the ones that have got interaction and engagement throughout the day. And that's kind of what I've been pushing our client base towards, really. So it's just been about showing them some of the content that Ross has been talking about, and asking them to think about where their business sits and how and what role they might play. I think we've called this an open day for the industry before, haven't we? And our customers. It's about just reminding them, really, how, certainly not forcing them, but reminding them how proud they are to work in the sector and how important it is. A lot of them, honestly, some of them have responded that how busy they are, and therefore how limited they are to engage with this kind of activity at the moment. But then it's just a case of reiterating the importance of it, and they know why they're so busy, because of the essential requirement that this equipment has remained to be. And I was talking to Steve Houghton at Rope and Sling, a Lear member, of industry veteran, and so on and so forth, about this the other day, and he was saying that he actually thinks, almost regardless of how long GLAD runs, he thinks that this one's going to be the most important, because he said it's kind of got a little bit of a it's not a concept now. It's not it's got to stand on its feet now. It's got to prove itself. It's not the inaugural Global Lifting Awareness Day, and also lifting's now got to find its place in a new world, hasn't it? And we got to talking about the challenges involved with attracting people into this sector, particularly.
That's a big one.
And also because the job that I do, I suppose I speak to the guys in the guys and girls in white collars as much as I do blue, and that's sometimes it's a forgotten dynamic of the industry. You don't have to be welding or up a crane, inspecting a crane to have a great career in this sector. And what I think is interesting about that side of it, and what I've been talking to clients about, getting their office staff and that kind of thing to promote the industry, because the challenges we've got at the moment is everything we hear at the moment is about working at home's it's here to stay. It's kind of become a thing that's forever. And this is something that another guest on the podcast, David Ayling's been quite vocal about recently, in the terms that we have to be very careful about people who can work from an office working from home, and it's the new flexible. But what happens to sectors like ours, where most of the workforce can't ply their trade from home?
Absolutely.
So that's just, I think that all of that kind of expectedly has kind of found itself as part of this conversation, really. So it's been interesting to kind of work with our clients and kind of plot a way through this. But I agree with Steve. I think this is a massive day, and it's an important day. And I think the rest of this, the rest of our year 3, 4, 5 is very much going to be teed up off the back of this.
No, I'm with you on that. And I was going to ask you both, if you thought that the wider industry got it, and is it accepted, and are they engaged? But I'm going to kind of answer my own question to a certain extent, because I've spoken to someone in Australia today. I've spoken to someone in Chicago today, both about GLAD. And it does feel to me, and I don't know if you guys agree, it does feel that it has landed, that the industry as a whole is engaged.
Yeah, I mean that. So I think the challenge that we have is that we do more than talk to ourselves. So we as an industry are really good at talking to ourselves. You go, an example, you go to a trade show, or you go to a sister organization's event, and you will see the same people in San Diego that I would see in Telford, So we are a great closed community, but from the trade association's perspective, I'm actually trying to take that message outside of this closed community. And so there's definitely an understanding that we as an industry have now got this day where we come together and make a big splash and make a big noise. But the fact that I've got stakeholders, and Guy, you're interviewing an MP about GLAD.
That's right.
It just shows that by making this big splash, I'm going to stretch a metaphor a bit here, by the industry making a splash, these droplets are landing elsewhere. That was kind of what we were always trying to do. We were trying to get beyond having these really interesting conversations with each other, but get to the sort of people that are key influencers and decision makers when it comes to raising standards worldwide, when it comes to ensuring that there's public funding and public support for X, Y, and Z. And I mean, I was thinking, I wonder if our industry's ever had, in the position that, Guy, you're interviewing an MP about Global Lifting Awareness Day. I'm like, that already feels like we've done quite a lot to take the industry into the mainstream.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
We're we're much more of an accepted industry. We're part of the engineering footprint, rather than being, we don't really know what that is, therefore we'll just ignore it and worry about it when we need to.
Yeah,
I think there's sorry guys, just
that's fine,
to
mate.
add to that, I think definitely there is some progress. I mean, one of the challenge, I think, and the part of the causation of what that culture that you talk about, Ross, is that how many of the best people in our marketplace and the best companies typically only speak to their dealers and their distributors.
Yeah.
And it's part of it's an interest in the way the supply chains work, and part of the challenge I have with my day job is trying to get some of that expertise, knowledge, and charisma in a lot of ways to get it in at the coalface and get it towards the point of use. Because so many of these companies, they talk to their peers and their competitors, and they talk to their channel partners. But a lot of the industry isn't set up to communicate to end users. So I think, again, that's a challenge, but moreover, an opportunity for GLAD.
So one of the guys I spoke to today, the guy in the United States, he's a big advocate for Global Lifting Awareness Day to be Global Lifting Awareness Week.
This is Tad, isn't it? You just
Tad,
the aforementioned Tad,
the aforementioned Tad, who's been a guest on this show. He's a good friend of ours, of course. And he said something which really resonated with me. I really identified with, and that was, I'm not asking, if you do something for say 7 days instead of a day, you're going to get more people. You're going to hit more people. You're casting the net wider. I'm not saying you say 7 different things across 7 different days. You just say the same thing 7 times over. And that, as I say, that kind of resonated with me. And I guess that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it? It's just kind of not just touch and reach new people. And one of the things that we're doing, one of the initiatives we are doing collectively, we're all working on, is the What's Your Story videos, where leading lights and people in the industry speak about how they got into the industry and what it is that they love about the industry. That's what we want, because you've already both alluded to the fact we are going to be struggling, as so many traditional industries already are, to fill positions. The old guard are moving on, they're retiring, and we're struggling to find people to fill these roles, right?
Yeah, and it's not beyond the wit of man for us to fix that. So I'll tell you something that we've just done. So we talk about, and we've talked about this, but again, this is the sort of thing that we're really good at talking to each other about. But we've talked about, where's this next gen going to come from?
Yeah.
Is it new recruits? Is it young people? Is it people that are reskilling, training up, etc., etc.? So Leah have just sponsored 2 awards at Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen. So one for a bachelor's, one for a master's. So end of year project. The student is nominated by the school, comes to us, we check that we agree, and then that student's going to get one of the Leah trophies and a cash award, and we hope to be interviewing him or her in the next couple of weeks. We might not have a chance for it to be in GLAD, but this is exactly an illustration of what we're talking about, that what we could have is people who go and do engineering degrees and come out, and everybody that does an engineering degree wants to work in Formula One or aerospace. That's just what you do. So if you do law, you all want to go into criminal law, but not all of them are going to go into aerospace. And if you're at an Aberdonian university, they are ripe for us to grab and say, see out there, see right here. And so this is just a small example of, there are real life solutions that we can all just grab and make these little changes.
And there's applications every day in this industry that are way more exciting than some of the stuff that's on the guest of some of those aerospace and so on professionals.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend that a crane in itself is more exciting than a rocket. Let's retain our credibility here. But to say that there isn't an incredible amount of innovation and technology and state-of-the-art controls, automation, etc. in this industry, there absolutely is, and we've got to harness that, and I think we are, and I absolutely think we are, and I think there's been I think what's been eye-opening for me about the GLAD journey is actually the simplicity of the message, because we haven't been doing so much of the straightforward communication that we should have been. There are challenges within it, but we've spoken on this pod and privately before about all of us get, and I know I still do get, WhatsApp messages. Hey, Rich, here's a crane, thought of you, mate. And you think, okay, yeah, LOL, it's another crane. But actually, if that's happening, it should be easier than what we're making it out to translate that into, because people are interested in things like, how does a tower crane climb, and how much is one of those worth for a day, and who makes that, who sells it. So I think there's actually been more of it is a big challenge, and let's not underestimate it, but I think there's a simplicity to the message and a natural curiosity for us to tap into.
Yeah, I go along with that. So,
and just to go back on what you said about Tad, just quickly, Guy. In essence, I think we should just put, just as an opinion for the listeners, just in response to Tad, I disagree with him at the moment. I don't necessarily see that GLAD is never going to be a week, but I think those multi-day events and awareness occasions were born more out of when more of this was reliant on face-to-face and in-person activity and that kind of thing. I think given the volume of content we can put on an airwave now in a day, I still think we're okay where we are. And it's not to say I never see it becoming a bigger thing. And Tad and I have spoke about this on and off air. And I would just take the positive of what Tad says about that is the extent to which industry's appetite has been whetted, I think. And I would leave it at that for now. But just for the listeners' benefit, just to throw in where I'm at in response to that.
No, that's fair enough, Rich. I mean, I don't think I think, and a lot of planning goes into GLAD. Did last year, and it certainly has this year. And yeah, no one's saying never. We could find a few years time down the line that indeed it is a week, because there is so much content, it's such a celebration. But at the moment, I think a day and the industry coming together is hopefully enough, not just to pat all of ourselves on the back, but also to engage with people that operate just outside the sphere, but are still touched by lifting.
And GLAD doesn't have to be the same every year. So this year, so I run the trade association, and so my job is to help my members, managing directors, and owners sleep better at night. And so when I speak to my members, it's what is it that keeps you awake? And obviously, coming out of the pandemic, there's a million things, but always at the top of the list is recruitment issues.
Yeah.
Always, if it's not first, it's certainly silver or bronze. And so that's what we're using. GLAD, we're here to sort of wave the flags, but we're also addressing a couple of issues, actually. And I know, we'll be doing that at some of the interviews and stuff, but if I just, at 4 o'clock, and it'll be out there when we do it, but we're running a military awareness event where we've got the Armed Forces Covenant there, we've got the Career Transition Partnership there, that are actually coming, and we'll be speaking directly to employers within the industry and telling them this is how that you should go out and find somebody from the military. So it's not just chat, it's actual here's solutions, here you can go. And so next year, GLAD might be focusing on new technologies, on distance working. It might be on getting a visa for the right skilled member of staff. But by having this day where we sort of coalesce our concerns, it feels like there's a real value to it at the moment. I mean, hopefully it does become a week, but at the moment, I think it's sensible to sort of marshal our resources accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, the industry is so varied and wide that we shouldn't be running out of content. Certainly this early on in its existence. And there's so many companies out there that I just hope really do engage with this and get behind GLAD. And something that you said on the last GLAD podcast, which is, as I say, almost a year ago, was the nod to brevity, Rich. You know, the importance really to get behind the industry. Of course, fly the flag, promote yourself. That's, you know, we're not suggesting for a second that you don't do that, but let's really get behind the industry, this great industry, and support it and promote it as well as we can.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that remains, and it's look, it's Global Lifting Awareness Year, isn't it? Anyway, and it's what is, you know, what that is, that GLAD, I don't know, or is it GLAD 24/7? It is what it. I think this is a kind of a. It's just this focal point, and we bring it to a crescendo on this day, and we've done that twice, and we'll see where it goes. And I think Tad's point has merit, but yeah, I think there is some prizes to be won here in the brevity of message, the simplicity of message, and I'm looking forward. You know, part 2, I'm looking forward to how many more people communicate this time, and how varied that content is, and seeing what those who were all over it last year do again second time around. And you know, when we wash this up at the end of it and have a look, in the embers will be it will be routes that we can take to plan what we do next time, isn't it? So
yeah, sure. I mean, what I'll say is that if you're unsure of how to get involved or how your company can get involved, there's a mission statement on the LEA website. You can contact anyone at LEA to find out more, to get advice and support. You can always contact myself at Lift and Hoist International, or you can contact Rich Howes, of course, or Mark Bridger at Bridger Howes. So if you're unsure, you need a bit of guidance, you just need a bit of steering, a bit of support, we are here to help. The more people that get behind this message, the better. And it's an altruistic one. It's there to support the industry and make sure that in 20 years' time, our great industry is a hell of a lot more healthier than it is today. And that's saying something, because it is very helpful, as it's proved over the last couple of years almost. Look, chaps, we're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. But thank you very much for coming on. And I think it's fair to say that we're all looking forward to the 8th of July.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, very excited about it. And honestly, I think we've come further in between year 1 and year 2 than I thought we would. Being a marketeer in this sector, there's honestly sometimes there's a little bit of pessimism. I think the industry hasn't been the best at communicating, so I'll be honest, I've been pleasantly surprised by the level of engagement and outreach. So I think fair play to everyone who's taken it this far.
We're expecting great things from folks out there, are we not? Well, look, thanks again, chaps. And yeah, and to all our listeners, enjoy the 8th of July. Enjoy GLAD. It's there to be enjoyed and to get involved and celebrate this industry, as we've said. So again, Rich, thank you very much, Ross.
My pleasure.
If I don't see you before, I'll see you on the day.
Yes, perfect. Thank you both.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, look forward to it, guys. Bye.
Cheers. Bye now. Once again, thanks to Ross and Rich for joining me on this episode of Lifting Lowdown to discuss the forthcoming Industry Awareness Day, as well as an advance thank you to all of the companies and individuals planning their GLAD 2021 activities. If there was a theme for this year's GLAD, for me at least, it would be along the lines of recruitment and bringing new blood into our sector. But that is just part and parcel of what GLAD is about and why it was established in the first place. So let's all just share our thanks and respect for lifting by acknowledging GLAD and flooding social media with our content on the 8th of July. As the quote states, individually we are one drop, together we are an ocean. Let's hope that the tide of gratitude for our industry swells on the day and carries us all further for yet another year. Feel free to leave comments or fire over questions if you have any. Your feedback and suggestions for future editions will enable us to make this podcast even more relevant and interesting. You can keep up to date with the latest industry news by visiting LHI's website, liftandhoist.com. Thank you for listening and look out for the next episode in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, stay safe.